Hi, my name is Steven with ClinicSource Training. Today I'm going to cover an exciting new feature called the Patient Portal. We will be walking through the initial setups, some of the required settings in order to get the information or access to the Patient Portal to work appropriately for both you and your patients. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to log into ClinicSource Training's website here. And the first thing I'm going to kind of point out some of the settings or requirements. In Setup and Facilities, you have the email address at the top, as well as the SMTP username, password, server, and port settings. This is required at the facility level in order to dispatch documents to the patient portal. So please enter an email address that you'd like to use for your business, as well as the SMTP username, password, and server information. The second requirement is for anybody you want to grant access to the patient portal or have them create settings at the global level or patient level would be in Setup, Users and Therapists. I'm going to go ahead and edit my name, and in the user functions you'll see there's two new check marks about halfway down called Patient Portal Global Setup or Patient Portal Patient Setup. The difference between these two items, Patient Portal Global Setup gives them access under Setup, and there'll be a new menu item called Patient Portal. And if it's set at the global level, you don't have to do it at the individual patient level. Now, the Patient Portal Patient Setup means at each individual patient level, you'll see that there's a new place at the very bottom of the patient screen to actually create a new Patient Portal ID for the client, and you would have to do it for each and every client. I'm going to go ahead and select both options and save. Finally, if I go to Patients and I see my test patient here, you'll notice at the very bottom of the screen, I have Patient Portal Login. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But the requirements, though, in order to have it work, the patient has to have a phone number on file. So you'll see in the top in patient demographics, their phone number. And they also need to have an email address on file. Now, the purpose of the phone number is that we use the last 4 digits of the phone number as well as the first initial last name to create what we call a unique username for your patients. The purpose for the email address is that the patient will have to click a couple links based on various timing. When they create their first login, they're going to get a confirmation link, etc. to update and change their password. They'll get a link, and it's all done via email. And we're going to walk through that process. So I'm going to go ahead and save my patient information. And because I updated my settings, I'm going to log out and log back in. So when I log in now, I'll actually have access to create a patient portal. You'll notice under Setup, I have Patient Portal now as an option for global settings. In the Patient Portal global settings, I can disable patient self-scheduling or disable appointment cancellations in the portal. I can even give a cancellation warning message. Again, these settings would be set for all patients. It's globally defined. On the patient level, you'll notice when I do click on my test patient and I scroll down at the bottom, I have the ability to not only create the login, but I also have those same options here at the individual patient level. I can disable the patient self-scheduling or disable appointment cancellations. It just depends on the access you want to grant your individual providers and or admin staff. Now let's go ahead and create a login for this particular test patient that I have in my file. So at the bottom of the screen on the patient profile, I'm going to go ahead and select the icon, create new patient portal login, and the system will automatically create my username, which is my first initial, last name, and the last 4 of my phone number. I can choose to disable self-scheduling or appointment cancellations online if that's what you wish. I'm going to go ahead and save this login information. And now my username is defined, and in my email, I should receive information If I scroll down, you can kind of see my patient portal username has been created. I can now log into the patient portal with the credentials below. So this is what your patient would receive. There's going to be a URL that they need to click where they can verify the information. The username is tpatient3540 in this instance, and then the server does assign them a password as a temporary password to log in. So let's go ahead and follow the instructions. Here's the site that the patient would see. This is the patient portal. The username and password would need to be entered based on the username and password that we emailed the patient. In this case, the username would just be the first initial, last name of the patient, plus the last four of the phone number. And the password is going to be the custom password that our server generates for the time being. And then the patient will be prompted to change their password. And you'll see that in just one moment. So a little pop-up is going to happen. This is the first time login username and password needs to be reset. An email has been sent with password reset instructions. So go ahead and click OK. In my email, there's a patient portal reset login. And there's also a new URL for them to select. When I do click on that URL, it'll take me to the reset page. New password. Confirm new password. Your password's been successfully reset. Please log in now to complete the process. It'll take me to the login page. And then go ahead and log in. You'll see when I do log into the patient portal, off on the left-hand side, it shows me any kind of appointments. And because the patient has the ability to modify and or cancel appointments, the modify button is here, as well as cancellations. If they don't have the ability to either modify and or cancel, those buttons would disappear depending on your selection for that specific patient. And off on the right-hand side, you'll see any kind of forms and documents. There's currently no pending forms, and forms and documents is nothing here. So let's go ahead and send something to the patient portal. I'm going to go ahead, go back into ClinicSource here, and go into documentation. And on the patient's chart, I do have the ability of creating custom patient-level documents, even evals or treatment plans. Let's go ahead and send a notice of privacy. I'm going to click the fifth button over from the left, which is Insert New Patient Form. I do have a customized notice of privacy form, which I can insert. And you'll see it's just basically like a Word document kind of template with some verbiage on it, my privacy information, knowing the rights and responsibilities. Let's just say you want the patient to review this document and sign it. What I'm going to do first is just save this document to the chart. When I save it, it just saves as the notice of privacy. But now I want my patient to review and sign it. Simply put a check mark next to that document on the chart. At the top, it's the email fax button. When I do select email and fax, it'll have the option to dispatch. So I have the email as the first option, fax is the second, and dispatch is the third. In dispatch, I can send it to my patient's email. So I'll just send it to my test patient there. And the action, I can have them view, I can have them sign it, or even fill it out. So if the form had blanks and you wanted them to fill in information, that would be fill out form. Since the form I'm sending doesn't have any blanks, I just want them to review the content and sign it, then it's just sign form. And I could even send them a subject and a message, which would appear in their email. Let's do a subject of forms. And please review and sign. And that's the attached document. And I'm going to go ahead and send that dispatch. Now, on the chart itself, a little envelope will appear showing that that dispatch was successfully sent. So in the patient portal in the home page, you can see I have a pending form, notice of privacy, and I can view it and sign it. That's my permissions. Also, the patient does get notification via email letting them know that there is a pending form to be filled out and signed. This is something the patient would receive, and it's got new secure dispatch awaiting and following actions, view and sign, the clinic name. So this is what the patient would sign, and you can click there to log in. I'm back in the patient portal. As far as working from here, you can see the pending forms. I can select notice of privacy. when I click on that link, it's going to open the form. And believe it or not, this form is still on my chart. It really hasn't gone anywhere. But the patient has access to this form on his or her chart. You can see it's the same form that I submitted. They can review it and look at the disclosures and information. And at the top, they have a couple options. They can go back to the home page of the patient portal. They can sign and send the form, or even print a copy for themselves. Now, I'm going to go ahead and sign and send the form, and you can see a little signature box pops up. So once they review it, they can actually sign. Now, if they have a touchscreen enabled device, like an iPad or any kind of a tablet, touchscreen laptop, they can just sign their name on the screen with a stylus pen right on the line. If they have just a normal computer with a mouse, simply instruct your patients, hold the left mouse button down, and it'll enable them to sign. That's what I'm going to do, is hold my left mouse button down. And I'm going to sign, test, and test patient, and sign the dispatch. When that happens, it's going to say once done, no editing can be permitted. I'll go ahead and click OK. The document then will disappear. Now the patient can choose to print it still or go to their home page. And you can see on their home page there's no pending documents, but they could view the medical forms. So past forms will be there. If they wanted to pull up that form, they can just go into the portal, see anything they've done in the past. On the patient's chart, so I'm going to go back to documentation. This is the notice of privacy. Now, when I do select the document from the chart, you'll notice at the bottom that patient signed. So it's all updated. It's all real-time, seamless. The provider will get notification that the document was signed, so there is notification that goes out. And that's the patient portal actions as far as dispatching documents. Currently, the only documents that you can dispatch are anything at the custom document level, meaning the customizable evaluation, the care plan, your notes, and any custom patient level form. Progress reports currently are not able to be dispatched. When a patient does schedule an appointment, or if they have a scheduled appointment in the patient portal, you'll see I have a 5/4 appointment on Saturday at 10 a.m. So if the patient chooses to cancel the appointment, I can go ahead and select cancel here. Are you sure you want to cancel the appointment? Okay. And the appointment will now be canceled. So if I go back into the schedule, you can see there's a strike through on that appointment. Or the patient does have the ability to modify the appointment based on availability. So let's just say that this appointment is no longer canceled. And I go into the patient portal and I want to modify the appointment. It's going to allow you to choose date and time of availability. And you can see I can go ahead and change, to various days, various times, even the provider information. I hope you found this video helpful in utilizing the patient portal and activities. And if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out. Of course, we can be reached at support@clinicsource.com for any questions and or concerns that you have.